Number of car crashes at one intersection in Green Bay is leading to some big changes.
Concrete barrier walls will be constructed next week in an effort to make that area safer for all drivers. It's happening on Packerland Drive and Mason Street. Emily Riley shows us why this is a temporary solution and what surrounding businesses think of the changes.
Since the beginning of January, there's been 2 crashes resulting in injuries. The highway commissioner says this continues to be the most dangerous intersection in Brown County.
And what happens is people look right, they look left, they look right, they go, and there's a car coming full speed and it T-bones them.
As a temporary solution, concrete barriers will be put up to make the driveways to Hardee's and the Shell gas station on the frontage road right turn in and right turn out only for drivers. Some nearby business owners aren't happy with the concrete barriers.
There's a lot of businesses on this road. There's new businesses, Wellness Ways right next door. There's all these little restaurants. Those are mom and pop restaurants that are going to be affected dearly, and it's going to hurt a bunch.
We're very, very concerned about it. You know, obviously, when you limit access to a convenience store and the convenience store becomes inconvenient, you know, that's a problem for us from a business aspect.
The highway commissioner did propose a permanent solution to add a roundabout, which many businesses support. Oneida Nation would need to receive approval from the Bureau of Indian Affairs since the roundabout would be built on tribal land. If they get the green light, construction wouldn't begin until next year or 2025.
It was supposed to happen this summer. Now it's pushed out for another year.
As the roundabout conversation continues, the highway commissioner urges drivers to take their time next week as people adjust to the new concrete barriers. In Green Bay, Emily Riley, Action 2 News.